Hello my dear friends, you're in the military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Ukraine. Overnight between the 29th and the 30th of March of 2026, the Ukrainians once again attacked the territory of Russia using hundreds of drones. And this time the Ukrainians were attacking mainly in the southern direction towards the southern regions of the Russian Federation. It seems that Ukrainians were trying to attack the city of Rostov-on-Don, where the chief of the general staff of the armed force of the Russian Federation is located. But most of the missiles were discovered and destroyed over the city of Taganrog. Lots of reports we received exactly from this area, and also we received lots of videos of how Russians who were using air defense forces were bringing down Ukraine's missiles over the city and over the region. So lots of videos were published from this area. As of the morning of the 30th of March of 2026, we don't know for sure whether the Ukrainians managed to destroy something or at least to damage something. One thing is clear, that they were using lots of drones, lots of probably even missiles to attack in the direction of Rostov-on-Don, but most of these drones and missiles were destroyed by Russians. The Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that overnight the Russians destroyed 102 drones in the area of the regions like Belgorod, Kursk, Voronezh, and so on. But several videos were received from this area of the city of Krasnodar. Several drones managed to break through Russians' air defense and to hit some residential buildings. Here we can see the consequences of attack. We can see that small damages were recorded through the residential area. Another territory that was attacked by the Ukrainians is the city of Volchevsk. As for this territory, it seems that the Ukrainians managed to deal damage to a factory which is located in the area of the settlement. A chemical factory that most likely the Russians used for military purposes. So here we can see the consequences of attack. It seems that there was a fire. It seems that maybe several missiles or drones managed to hit some targets on the territory of the plant. Here we can see an explosion, maybe even an ammo depot was destroyed as a result of this attack. The Russians from their side struck back the territory of Ukraine. The Russians also used lots of drones to attack the territory of Ukraine, and the sources are saying that overnight the Russians used 165 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine. As of the results of this attack, we haven't received almost anything. There were just several reports during the night that several explosions were recorded on the territory of Odessa region, and we received updates that the Russians overnight were attacking significantly the city of Kramatorsk. The sources are saying that the Russians destroyed the bridge, or at least they damaged the bridge in this area, and that the Russians destroyed several buildings in the western parts of the settlement. I would like to remind you that currently the Russians are trying to advance in the direction of the cities of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, so maybe the Russians were using drones, were trying to destroy bridges, logistic roads, and temporary deployment points. At the same time, the Ukrainians and Zelensky himself say that they are ready to start negotiation process. Washington is pressing Kyiv to withdraw troops from Donbas, complains the former Ukrainian ambassador to the United States. The United States is counting on us not holding out until the end. According to him, the US is interested in a swift end to the conflict, and Kyiv's interests are absolutely of no interest of them. Another important thing is that, according to Zelensky, Ukraine is ready for peace talks. We are ready to meet anywhere except Russia and Belarus. The president stated this in an interview with NBC News. He named Turkey or Switzerland as possible options. But we know that currently the Russians are not interested in any negotiation process because the oil prices are very high, and starting of this Monday, the oil prices began rising even more. Now let's continue with Ukraine and let's discuss the situation on the ground. And first, we're going to talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction, where the Russians continue their Orekhov offensive operation. And this morning, the group of forces East published an update, and according to this update, the Russians, as a result of clashes, managed to capture the settlement of Luhivske. So, as you can see, according to our map, we have no changes because the settlement of Luhivske either was captured a long time ago, or we had geolocations in the past that confirmed Russian control over the territory. Maybe this village was in the gray zone, who knows, but as you can see, we haven't added anything special. And now, of course, this is a very interesting and a very big question: what's exactly happened there? Either the Russians of the group of forces East are trying to improve their positions in the area of, let's say, the villages of Charivna and Guliai-Polskaya from the south, and let's say from the southeast, trying to outflank the main Ukraine's defense positions and to attack the Ukrainians from the back, or this is something else. It seems that this is something else. It seems that, if you remember, yesterday we received reports that the Russians carried out several offensive operations in the direction of the city of Orekhov. The Russians were attacking the settlement from the south, and the 65th Mechanized Brigade of the Armored Forces of Ukraine published this video where we could see how the Ukrainians were repelling those attacks, at least from the south. And as you can see, according to this map, several attacks took place from the east, so basically through the village of Luhivske. So we believe that the Russians announced control over the settlement of Luhivske because main attacks and lots of vehicles, probably infantry, while attacking in the direction of Orekhov, were moving through these areas. So that is why the Russians announced control and victory and over this territory as well. So it seems that this is something like this. Anyway, the Russians, the most important thing, that the group of forces Dnipro was responsible for offensive operation in the area of the city of Orekhov, and so they, and this is the most important thing, that the group of forces East also joined this offensive operation, which means that maybe the group of forces East will attack the city of Orekhov from the east and from the southeast, which means that this Orekhov offensive operation is something like a combined offensive operation where at least two groups of forces would be involved: the group of forces Dnipro from the west and the southwest, and the group of forces East from the east and from the southeast. Now let's move further. The Russians continue bombing and attacking positions of the armored forces of Ukraine in the area of the villages of Guliai-Polskaya and Zaporizhzhia, but as you can see, as for the main eastern direction, during the previous night, no changes were recorded. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Dobropolye direction. During the previous night, we received a video published from the southwestern parts of the settlement of Belitske. We will not watch this video due to casualties, but if you have access to the map, you will see that the Ukrainians were bombing and attacking positions of the armored forces of the Russian Federation in the southwestern part of the settlement of Belitske. So that is why we decided to expand the gray zone in this area, which means that most likely either these territories is under control of the Russian forces or no man's land. Now let's talk about the city of Kostyantynivka. During the previous 12 hours, very interesting updates were recorded. First of all, pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that the Russians during the previous days improved their position significantly in the area of the settlement of Stepanovka. Pro-Ukrainian sources colored pockets along the N20 road and 32 road, and pro-Ukrainian sources expanded the infiltration area further in the northern direction. As for videos, we have this video published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking edge positions or strongholds of the armored forces of the Russian Federation in the southwestern parts of the settlement of Stepanovka. So based on these updates, we haven't adjusted anything, just the thing that we during the previous night received lots of updates confirming that indeed either the settlement of Stepanovka is under strong control of Russians or about to be captured completely. The city of Kostyantynivka. Very interesting videos were published from the central part of the settlement, and based on these videos, as you can see, we have adjusted the map. So these are the changes on the ground. This is the end of the 29th, this is the beginning of the 30th of March of 2026, and the video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and during this video we can see how Ukrainians were attacking positions of Russians on the territory of the settlement. So a lot of FPV drone attacks, and as you can see, these attacks were taking place on the territory territory of this industrial zone, which means that there are very heavy clashes for this industrial zone and that the Ukrainians are being forced to retreat from this territory. So this is one of the most important battles because there are lots of strongholds, lots of barrel basements, lots of facilities that the Russians might use for further offensive operation in the northwestern direction and the northern direction of the city of Kostyantynivka. So if Russians take these parts of the city under complete control, the Ukrainians will lose lots of supply lines and chains that they used to have from the northern and from the eastern parts of the city. So the Ukrainians, there is a bridge, as you can see in this area. There are probably a few more pontoon bridges, another bridge further in the north, and the Russians are keeping advancing, and the Russians are shortening the distance to these logistic lines. So it seems that despite the fact that the Ukrainians are showing fierce resistance in this area, we see that most likely the battle for the city of Kostyantynivka is, at least for its southwestern part, is coming to a logical end. Let's discuss the situation in Sloviansk. Once again, the Russians during the previous nights attacked the city significantly with bombs and drones. A bridge was damaged probably in the area, and furthermore, pro-Ukrainian, pro-Russian sources published a video of clashes for the settlement of Fedorovka Druga, and during this video we could see how Russians raised a flag right exactly at this point. So we have a proof right now, not just confirmation from the Minister of Defense, but also sources on the ground confirmed the information that the Russians indeed captured the settlement of Fedorovka Druga and that the Russians are keeping advancing further in the direction of the villages of Dibrova, Alexandrovka and Nikolaevka. As for the Liman-Kupiansk and northern directions, during the previous night, nothing special was recorded. We have covered almost everything about the situation in Ukraine. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. We received lots of very important updates. As we discussed during the previous videos, I was waiting for the morning of the Monday of the 30th of March of 2026. I would like to remind you that the financial markets closed on the 27th of March of 2026, and they closed with the prices of $96.64 per barrel for WTI and $110.41 per barrel for Brent crude. So those were the prices by the end of the 27th of March of 2026. During the weekends, we received lots of updates of how the Americans and the coalitions were attacking objects on the territory of Iran, how the Iranians were attacking different objects on the territory of the coalition states. We received reports that Houthis answered the war and so on. So I expected that on Monday, on the 30th of March of 2026, the prices for oil will keep rising, and so these are the prices at the beginning of the 20th, at the beginning of the 30th of March. So the WTI was on the level of $102, so the prices rose for $6 per barrel almost, and Brent crude was on the level this morning of the level of 115. The prices rose for $5. So this is a significant growth of prices for oil. And somewhere at the same time, on the 23rd of March of 2026, so a week ago, the President of the United States of America, if you remember, stated that he announced the energy ceasefire. That happened exactly a week ago, and right after he made this statement a week ago, the oil prices dropped significantly. But today, according to information we have, the President of the United States of America still hasn't made any announcement, any statement, which means that most likely the words like tools like words are no longer let's say available and useful to stabilize the situation through the financial market. So the only possible way how to stabilize the situation is to show and to perform some actions, real things, for probably military things with military means. So let's discuss the situation in the Middle East, what we have on the morning of the 30th of March of 2026. We have lots of important updates, so let's start. The most important probably is the situation that is currently taking place on the territory of Kuwait. I would like to remind you that during the previous days the Iranians were attacking significantly the Kuwait International Airport. We had lots of videos. We have how the Iranians were attacking fuel reserves and so on, and currently the international airport of Kuwait City is probably unoperational. Furthermore, today we received the most important update from this area is that the Iranians attacked this territory, this plant, and this is a very big problem. Breaking Kuwait desalination hits. NASA firms satellite data detects an active fire today at the Doha West Power and Water Desalination Station in Kuwait. So this is a very dangerous situation because almost every single state in the Persian Gulf area has plants like this, and if the coalitions and the Iranians began bombing and attacking each other, the plants of this type of each other, this can lead also to humanitarian disaster for the entire region. Furthermore, according to information we have, during the night, another boat, another tanker was damaged and destroyed as a result of the Iranian attack. So here we can see a tanker that was most likely was attacked by the Iranians, and the sources are saying that this tanker belonged to the United Arab Emirates. The sources are saying that this tanker was trying to move through the Strait of Hormuz, but was attacked by the Iranians. Furthermore, we continue receiving updates about the situation in the shops and malls of the United Arab Emirates. As you can see, the shelves in store in the United Arab Emirates are completely empty. If you remember, we discussed something like this at the beginning of this conflict, when we were saying that there was just 10 days left before fresh products end on the territory of the state, and it seems that this moment has happened. Another important thing is that the Iranians overnight continue attacking different states and regions in this area using missiles and bombs, and the coalitions, of course, were trying to strike back. During the night, explosions were recorded in the area of the city of Isfahan. Furthermore, explosions were recorded around and in the area of the city of Tigran. Furthermore, as for the city of Tigran, the sources are saying that the objects of energy infrastructure were attacked by the coalition, because during the night we received lots of videos and proofs that partial blackout or some power outages were recorded through this region and through the city. So which means that most likely the Iranians will try to attack the similar objects on the territory of the coalition states during the next days, which also, and the most important, will push the prices higher. Another important thing is the negotiation process between the coalition and the Iranians, and it seems that the parties have found the formula for the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. This is a very interesting situation because today we received the report that the states who is going to use the Strait of Hormuz will be forced to pay fees to the Iranians according to the Iranian national legislation. But today we received the report that Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Pakistan created something like a group to control the Persian Gulf or something like this, which obviously doesn't have anything common with the current situation. So how they're going to convince the Iranians to accept this formula? Very difficult to understand, but maybe as for now it's just talks and just something to discuss, but nothing more. And that's it for the short video. The Military with Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.